how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's one that keeps me in check more than, than I live by that. It's more like, if I'm going to say yes to something and I'm going to commit, and if I don't want to do it half-heartedly, because so it's just that idea, like if I'm going to do something, I want it to be done well. And that's one thing that's on my mind.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Bruce Lee podcast. Bruce Lee like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely. If you want my respect, you'll better put direct. Here are the words in the podcast, that's what comes next.
Hi, welcome back to the Bruce Lee podcast. This is the podcast that gives hosts the tools, the tactics, the training, and most importantly, the confidence for you to go out there and get more direct bookings. We do a behind the services kind of podcast on this, where we dive into services that you need to know about as a host. These services will help you in some way. Sometimes they'll help you with direct booking. Sometimes they'll help you with other things. And today is one of those services which is really interesting and is going to help you with filling gaps or getting value for the gaps within your calendar as a host. I'm not going to go much further into that. I'm going to let our special guest explain exactly what I mean by that. But let me welcome, we've got Sean Wilkinson. He is the co-founder from Hostshare, and he's going to show us exactly what Hostshare is today on this podcast. So welcome along, Sean. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Liam. Hey, thanks so much for having me, man.
Thank you for being here. Sean, first question is, what can people expect from the next sort of 20, 25 minutes over this podcast? What would you like them to remember?
Well, the main thing I would like them to remember is that, as a short-term rental owner and a host, you're always going to experience vacancy, anytime or any year throughout a calendar year. And so the main thing that we do is we allow you to trade those vacancies for vacations, all by utilizing last minute vacancy. So that's kind of the goal. You get about on average, our people are getting around $340 a night in savings when they go and travel, and an average of it would be you can get all the way up to $20,000 a year in value just by utilizing those last minute vacancies.
Why is this important to you? What really, when did you pick up on this problem, and why are you trying to solve it across the industry?
Yeah, well, the main thing we realized was, I'm actually not sure on this number, but between 7 and 10 million short-term rentals, worldwide, and across that whole, across them all, it's about a 60% vacancy factor if you look at any given year, which is crazy to me. I knew we were experiencing that on our own places between, midweek and off season. But then to realize that means that every night, like, there's between 4 and 6 million short-term rentals sitting empty, and it was kind of shocking to realize that there was that much waste happening, and how much that really, if you were able to figure out how to fill some of that, the value that could bring hosts. And so yeah, the goal is just to enrich lives of hosts by utilizing waste. That's kind of the like mission of the company. And because there's inevitably going to be waste in short-term rentals. You're always going to experience some vacancy, and so now this is just a way that you can trade some of that vacancy for vacation nights, and staying at other people's properties. So
take me back. How long has the company been around for, and why? Take me back, as in, how did it get created? I mentioned you're the co-founder. Was this a few people came together? Take me back through that.
It's a funny process, because so it was my brother and I that initially kind of stumbled upon the concept in a roundabout way, where we're both private pilots too. And I was in commercial real estate, and he was founding a internal combustion engine company. And
Wow.
so we both had about four short-term rentals each, but they were, for both of us, were kind of afterthoughts. And as pilots, we realized, we're partnered in on a plane together, and we actually have another partner there. And we were realizing, man, these assets that people have, the most expensive assets people have, sit empty or not being used. Like, in terms of yachts and in planes, like, 95% of the year they just sit there, right? And they're just such expensive assets. And so that was kind of one thing we started like, man, what, how do you utilize some of that waste? And then but then we looked at our short-term rentals and like, man, we're not the only ones that experience a lot of vacancy at these properties and they just sit there. And, we knew about things like, exchange programs and stuff where you could do a home exchange or, like third home exchange, those sorts of platforms, which are awesome. But then they're primarily for their primary residents to be able to exchange it, kind of a direct exchange with somebody. And if you do that with a short-term rental, you're going to be giving up revenue nights in the future because it's further out in the future. So that was kind of how we came about. All right, well, if it was last minute as an operator, I would trade those nights with another with another host anytime if I could just have the ability to do the same thing. And so we kind of stumbled upon that. We figured out, all right, let's say everybody, gets 3 weeks of free travel, which is like if you're on the platform, you automatically get 3 weeks of free travel, and you basically are only, depending on your price point of your property per night. If you fall above our median price, right, you'll share less nights than 21. So say our average is $250 a night, $260 a night, and then so say if you have $1,000 night property, you might only share about 6 nights a year, but you still get 21 nights of free travel. And if you're below that, then you'll share more, but it's only if you're vacant, right? It's only if you're vacant last minute and another host wants to come book it. So if you're not vacant, then we're just kind of going off law of averages.
How do I stop people asking for the nights which I still might sell? Because basically, how close are those nights would you
Yeah.
tend to advertise?
So it's only a 5 night window, right?
Mhm.
So if I was booking for tomorrow, I could book up to that 5 night horizon. Um, but you can't book up beyond that 5 night horizon. And then once your property all your nights have been used up, so say you have that $1,000 night property and you're only gonna share 6 nights a year. Once those nights are used, then it won't be on the platform any longer.
How does it work for the hosts listening to this? If somebody listening to this wants to sign up, what is the process? Do they have to list all of their places like individually? Is there a lot of work involved? What does that process? Talk us through that.
And when we got started in the development, one thing that we were really keen on is just making it as simple of a process to sign up. There was a couple things that like we spent a lot more time on than I had expected to. We brought on a development team as partners too, and which was because my brother and I aren't from the aren't in that world, and so we found some strategic partners that we were able to bring in, and they were able to dive in and get this thing get this platforms up and running. And one of the main things that we started on was just a very simple you when you sign up, you just put your Airbnb link in. It scrapes all their information from their website and brings it into a profile on Hostshare, and they basically just they have to confirm a few details. They do a persona ID verification, and then depending on if there's a few things we have to do to make sure that they are qualified to host that property. We don't want people to falsely be putting in properties that they can't host. And then they just have to import their calendar and export it, via like the ICS calendar, and then now it can communicate to all their PMS systems and Airbnb, and it's just very simple. Like it takes probably 3 to 5 minutes to get your property up and running on Hostshare.
Thank you so much for this, Sean. This has been really fun, and I think it's a great idea. Like I say,
Thanks,
I
Lynn.
love to see concepts like this come to fruition. Can you leave us with what mantra or what motto has resonated with you, either in business, in life, in short-term rental, however?
I would say, I mean, there's a couple things that I just if I'm just like thinking to myself, but like in um one would be, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's one that keeps me in check more than, than I live by that. It's more like, if I'm going to say yes to something and I'm going to commit, and if I don't want to do it half-heartedly, because so it's just that idea, like if I'm going to do something, I want it to be done well. And that's one thing that's on my mind quite a bit. And when I make a decision, it's like, well, can I do this well if I'm gonna commit to it? And it helps keep me in check sometimes. So
I love it. I love it. It's very true. And the more I see successful people, they don't do, thousands and thousands of tasks. What they do is they commit in one direction, but they give it their all. And this is really important. So thank you, Sean. This has been really, really fun. I look forward to seeing you guys be successful and seeing you at the events and all of that, all that cool stuff. And yeah, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you on the next Boostly podcast. Bye for now.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.